We are here with NC Courage head coach Sean Nahas out of the team's road match versus the Utah Royals this weekend. Sean, if we could just start with your initial thoughts on this weekend's matchup.
Yeah, tough one. I think coming off the back end of the result we had this weekend, you want to take the momentum and build off of it. But you'd like to always do that at home. Going on the road is always difficult in this league, especially going to Utah. But yeah, I think we're excited. I think another good week of training, and you try and evolve from the positives from the week and go out, put on a good performance, and then see what comes of it at the 90.
You talked a lot leading into this past weekend's win about wanting to see the belief from the team and seeing it in those moments. You talked a little bit about it on Jordan's show, but I want to call out a specific moment from Brianna Pinto where after the second goal, she runs in and grabs the ball and takes it straight back to midfield to restart the game. What does it say about this team that you're facing an undefeated team? You bring the game level late, and your team is clearly out there going for the win in those last moments.
Yeah, I didn't see that until the staff told me because I was trying to reorganize the line or the system, because I was wondering, do we just take the point and go at that stage, or do we run the risk of getting countered and losing? So you're trying to find the balance of what are we trying to get out of this right now, coming back twice. So when I saw it and watched it back on video, yeah, I think that's important because there was in that moment, it's like, we're home, let's go for it. And that's what I told the players at halftime. Like, what are we shy for? We're giving teams too much respect, and we have to go. We got to go. The more we sit back and wait, the less we're going to find ourselves 0-8. So I saw that. That was good. But whether it was Kansas City, whether it was a scrimmage, like, the mentality should be the same. It shouldn't change just because everyone made a big deal of it because it was Kansas City. But if I'm just looking at us, right? So we didn't talk about Kansas City all week. We just talked about how we could perform better. And to have that moment, you saw a belief, you saw a switch. I think once Ryan scored, you could see something happening. And then when we gave up the second, I was a little bit worried, like, been here before, how are we going to react? We're young. We haven't responded well all year. Then when KK scored, I was like, okay, we got the crowd into it. But just the way they celebrated, it was almost like they just got the world off their shoulders, which is what we needed. So it was great to see, and hopefully it's something that we can build off of. But that's the mindset we need here. And if we don't ever get that, if we don't keep that, then it's a moot point.
I'll turn it over to Jordan.
You mentioned kind of having that go and talking to them about having the urgency of having a go at halftime. How do you instill that in the first half and kind of get them to think in that way early in games?
I think they played not to give up the first, right? And we ended up giving up the first. So, which has been sort of our MO all year. Like, there's always been like this talk of, we got to go score first. And then when they don't, and we haven't said it, it's what they say. Because I think, so when that doesn't happen, there's a natural reaction of, oh, here we go again. So at halftime when we were down, I looked at a couple of players and I said, "What? Are you all right? Like, you okay? Like, what's going on?" And like, "No, I'm fine." I'm like, "Well, then you got to perform. You can be average or you can be great. Like, this is the time now. If we're going to get anywhere, like, we're in this game." We gave up one shot, I think, or whatever, dangerous shot. And even Haley's goal, I was like, well, could we have done better in that moment defensively? But you got to just get them to believe. Like, I think a lot of situations, in the situation that we're in, a lot of people would continue to like we got to bash them and put, when realistically what they needed over the last couple of weeks was just reinforcement that we'll get there. We're not as bad as our record is showing. We've lost 3 games. We've lost two of them by a goal. And then the game against Gotham was just a gaffe, right? So, yeah, you just got to give them the motivation and belief, and let them know that we as a staff believe in them. And if we're going to lose, let's lose our way and not look back and say we gave a team too much respect and we didn't play our performance. And as a result, we ended up not coming out with anything.
We've talked a lot about how difficult the style of play is that the NC Courage kind of operate with. Do you feel like it does just take a couple of games under your belt, especially with a new team when you've got new pieces, for a team to really kind of find a rhythm in that style?
Yeah, for sure. It's always going to be choppy. I think, you have a lot of new players too. You have Hannah, you have Jay, you have Shinomi, the way we play, I'd probably say most players would say, especially if they're young and new, probably takes 8 months, right? So we're asking the world of, and the players that we have new are in really intricate pieces of the puzzle. Even Riley, it's the first time she's starting. So Sully's playing with 2-3 new midfielders. KK's playing with a new partnership with Malia out. So it's like there's a lot of new pieces, and you have to understand each other. You have to understand the rhythm. But yeah, it takes time, and I would love it to be quick. But yeah, usually 8 months is when you start to fly.
You've also talked a little bit about kind of the weight of the start of the season and how that's impacted the women out there on the pitch. Did you feel a different just vibe this week in practice, a little lighter, just kind of getting that first win under their belts?
This week or the week going into this week? Yeah, to be honest, I felt it. I haven't not felt it. Like I never felt like we were heavy in our minds. I just felt like you could see they were pressing a little bit. But we haven't had a bad week of training. I think it was just they were waiting for that moment to happen. But I felt like overall this week, I told the group this, you can see there was a little bit more joy, especially the way it happened, which I felt they deserved. And I think it helped in how they trained and the effort they put in training.
Obviously, Hannah Betford going back to face her former team. You were able to watch her probably in Wake Forest when she was in college and then also in Utah. What is it about her style of play that you liked so much that you thought would fit well with the Courage?
Yeah, I never saw her at Wake. I saw her when she played against us in Portland and scored a worldie. She just gives us a different presence in the way we ask our 9 to play. We have some 9s who we like to drop in because that's their quality. We have Hannah who can stretch a line a little bit different, gives a bigger body physically, which is something we haven't had probably since 2018-19. But it's going to take a lot of time for her because she's so used to going direct. Now we're adding different nuances. So a lot of her movements are very linear, and we want to be more angled and in gaps. So that takes time, and she's learning every day. But you give her, these players, you're giving them a lot of information. It can become overload, and it puts a block in their mind. So yeah, she just gives us something different coming off the bench, starting. Good energy in the locker room, great kid, works her tail off to a fault sometimes. But yeah, she'll end up getting where she wants to be.
And then on Zoom, we have SB Nation's All for 11. Any questions from Zoom? Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Sean, Fuquin with All for 11. Hope you're doing well. Can you just kind of talk to us about the resilience of the team? Just sticking with it, continuing to battle week in and week out, and then getting that big win. And how do you kind of carry that over into this weekend's match?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they're professionals, right? They have to show up every single weekend, and as hard as it might be, the only way you're going to get out of it is by working through it collectively. That's the one thing I'll say about our group culturally is the locker room is so strong that, like I said, it never fazed them. In terms of how do we build this momentum going forward, I don't know. That's up to them. There's got to be more of a belief. We as coaches can make sure that we don't bring that down, which we don't. But at the end of the day, they have to go perform. We're not the players, and they have to go get what they want. They have to take what they want. And they have to show up every single day and compete. And sometimes it has to be ugly. It doesn't always have to be perfect football, but that's their responsibility, is to go and perform and give themselves the best chance to win. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but they have to give themselves the best chance. And when you have belief, that can count. That can make up for about 50% of the work, because you never feel like you have an uphill mountain to climb. You have experience in the back of your mind to say we can grab from it and utilize it when things aren't going their way.
Yeah, and then Sean, can you just kind of talk to us about the three-back formation? Obviously Ryan Williams had a massive game, but also kind of highlights some of the midfield abilities, like Ashley and Jaden as well.
Yeah, look, we were going with our normal system. I'm not saying we're going to stick with the current system that we just played. But our job as coaches is, look, if we were 6-0, I wouldn't have changed anything. We were 0-3-2, and my job as a coach is to look back on it and say something's got to change, because if I continue going the route we're going, then you may lose the locker room. Because my job is to put them in the best situation possible for success. And again, not that we weren't playing well, it's just we weren't getting what we wanted out of our best players. And when I say our best players, we're meaning players in certain spots and or positionally. And then when players came on, how were they going to become the best players in that moment? So it was just, yeah, you want to take the qualities of the players, put them in situations where they can thrive. We felt that Ryan was really dangerous. We know she's really dangerous getting forward, and having her as part of the build in the 3, we were taking away her qualities. We tried Ash in the 7. That was an experiment that did not work. We did it because of, you lose Kero and you're trying to find, we want Ash on the field, and can we find her in different spots? But she's not a 1v1 artist. She's more of a drive-it player. So after a while, I finally looked at the staff and said, no more. The experiment is over. And yeah, look, we didn't win because of the formation. We didn't win because of the changes myself and the staff made. We won because the players believed and found a way. And that is what the courage system is all about. So the system is only a byproduct of everything. And once the whistle blows, it starts to move. So they did it to a T, and yeah, to see the relief on their face, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then Sean, last one for me is just, obviously it's a great time for the club with the holidays joining, Lauren joining as an advisor, ambassador, and then Dr. Carrie Boley joining as well. What are your thoughts on just those 2 additions to the club?
Yeah, Lauren, I'll start with Lauren. Lauren's amazing. I've gotten over the last year to meet her and chat with her and become friends, and great soccer mind, believes in the way we play. I think that's what attracted her here, that and the culture. The way she played football is the way we like to play. But yeah, she's awesome. Just wants to help us grow. Has been a good resource for me if I need to. Is always checking in to see, if I need anything and how I'm doing. As coaches, we don't get that very often. We're sort of on an island to ourselves. So that's good. We get that. I get that from a handful of people here in the club, and that's always rewarding, regardless of the situation we're going in. And then Carrie I've known Carrie for over a year, and is a really good football brain and has great experiences with Citigroup, but has a really good understanding of how to build a youth product, a youth system, which is something we need. He's great to bounce ideas off of, something that I've been in wanting to do, especially since Kurt has left. So now that Carrie's involved, we can start bouncing ideas off each other, and both of us coming from youth backgrounds, and obviously he has more experiences in it at a different level, but we can help build a really good platform for development. We can develop a platform for pathway to the first team, and see how this evolves, and hopefully we can make this a place where we can attract players, and our style of play is already there. Now it's just how do we build it so that the future is in position to be successful. So whether I'm here for another year, whether I'm here for 10 more years, I want to make sure I'm leaving this club in a better place, and with the help of Carrie, I know we can do that.
Well, thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thanks.